All right, so Pesach Sheini, we have the story that there were some Jewish people that were tamei, they were impure. There's different reasons, I think, that are given, but the two sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, when they passed away, so there was other Jewish people that had to bury them. And they were tamei, they were impure, and they were not able to bring the carbon Pesach, so they came to Moshe Rabbeinu and they complained. He said, why should we lose out? So Moshe asked Hashem, and Hashem gave them a second Pesach. So what's interesting is that the Torah has many dimensions. There's Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod. There's the Sod. Sod. There's the Pshat, there's the basic level, the simple meaning. Then there's Remez, there's what it hints to, what it alludes to. And then there's Drash, it's the way you interpret it, the way you expound, and then there's the Sod, then there's the secret, the Kabbalah of it. Yeah.
It looks like there's a mark for the Aleph.
Isn't Sod infinite light?
It's Orein Sof would be the Sof would be. This is Sod with a Dalet.
Sod means foundation.
Sod means secret.
Secret. Oh, Yisod is foundation.
Right. Aleph de Gusha. Yeah. So there's a dot in that Aleph there. Yeah.
And for some specific reason that you're not privy to at the moment.
Right. So, really, every part of Torah could be explained on all these four different levels. So over here, we're going to go through the mitzvah of, the Pesach Sheini, the way it is on Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod. It's very interesting. So we'll start from the pasuk. It says, "Daber el."
Is that the same thing, Padres?
Pardes, yeah, exactly. Pardes is Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod. This is the Pardes. Pardes is the orchard, but it also stands for these four. So the pasuk says, "Daber el bnei Yisrael leimar, ish ish, ki yiyeh tamei lanefesh, oy b'derech rechoika lachem, oy l'deirei seichem, v'asa Pesach l'Hashem." We'll see soon, every detail of this pasuk has a lot of meaning. So not only the words, but even the notes, the trop and the different stops and dots, everything has a lot of meaning. So the way it's translated is, any person, the Torah uses a double expression, ish, ish. Yeah, any person who becomes unclean from contact with the dead, or is on a distant journey, whether among you or in the future generations, he shall make a Pesach sacrifice for Hashem. He shall prepare it on the 14th of the second month in the afternoon, and shall eat it with matzah and bitter herbs. Yeah, so right now we're only having the matzah, but in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, they would have the whole carbon Pesach. You had chrein? Oh, you had a samar. Had some
Rashi talks about Mim Mosh Mosechem, and Rashi talks about Lechem Tenufa, and skips the word in the middle, which is the word
Taviu.
Okay.
Okay, but we're going to focus on the dot soon in this pasuk.
Okay.
So if you notice, there's two things that are different in this pasuk, where it's between the words tamei and lanefesh. You see, there's a little line. Mm-hmm. There's a line that's interrupting between tamei and nefesh. That's called a psik, that it's like a stop, an interruption. So you would think that those two words are connected, tamei nefesh, someone who becomes impure while contacting a nefesh, contacting a dead body. But for some reason there's an interruption, there's a psik there. Also, if you look at the hay on rechoika, there's a dot on the top of the hay. You see the dot?
Yeah.
It's very small in this print, but it's there's a dot on top of the rechoik. On the ches, it's a chaylam. That's the rechoika. That's just the vowel. But on the hay, there should not be a dot. And the dot over there, Rashi is going to explain actually. So yeah, maybe Rashi doesn't explain on Taviu. Thank you, but. On Rechoika, Rashi explains. So This is pshat. We're going with the basic meaning. On a distant journey, there is a dot over the word rechaika. Now, in general, when there's a dot on a word, it means that, don't take it so literally. It's kind of minimizing it. Don't take it so seriously. There's another dot where it says that Yaakov kissed Esav, or the other way around, that Esav kissed Yaakov.
And there were dots all over that.
There's dots all over that. And that's also a whole thing, because did he kiss him fully? Did he really make up or not? So over here, the word rechaika means distant. So why is there a dot on the word distant? To teach us that he does not really have to be far away. Yeah, when you read the Torah, it sounds like, he's on a distant journey. He's in a very far away place. So that's why there's a dot saying you don't have to be so far. Even if he was merely outside the threshold of the temple courtyard, throughout the time allowed for the slaughtering of the Passover sacrifice. So what's considered distant? What's considered far? If you're outside, the threshold, the doorway of the Beis HaMikdash. That's why there's a dot. That's what Rashi is saying. To tell you that distant doesn't mean very far, it means, just, far enough outside of the Beis HaMikdash.
If it was above, it would be a road.
It would be what?
Street. If it was above, not a hay.
Rechov, yeah.
The street.
Yeah,
Road.
that's right. And then Rashi continues. On the second Pesach, one may keep both leavened bread and unleavened food in the home. There's no problem to have chametz today. That's different than the first Pesach. And there is no festival. Today you're allowed to work. It's not like the first Pesach, that's a Yom Tov. The consumption of leaven is not forbidden except while he eats the sacrifice. Even on Pesach Sheini, you can't eat the carbon Pesach together with chametz. You could have chametz in your house, but you can't eat the carbon Pesach together with the chametz. And there's a whole discussion, are you allowed to have the matzah together with the chametz today, while you're eating the matzah? Because it says that you have chametz in your house, but the question is, are you allowed to eat it together? So, there's probably different opinions about it. But over here we know...
Like what? Like a cookie or something?
Yeah.
A piece of bread?
Yeah, could you have the matzah with bread today? So it only says clearly about the carbon Pesach, but the question is, do we apply that to the matzah also? Okay, they bring here a note that there's a Kabbalah-based custom to eat matzah on this day of Pesach Sheini. So that was Pshat. Then we have the Remez. What is this hinting to? The Baal HaTurim. Yes, the Baal HaTurim is always gematria and a lot of different remazim, hints in the pasuk. So the pasuk says, Tamei lanefesh. We mentioned before that there's a line in the middle. Contaminating through contact with a human corpse. The cancellation sign pesik, which is a pause, looks like a straight vertical line, appears between the word tamei and lanefesh, to indicate to you that there is a distinction between those who have become contaminated. The Torah is actually making a separation that not always do you make a Pesach Sheini if you become tamei. The Passover offering is obligation of a contaminated individual is postponed until the next month, but that of a contaminated community is not postponed. So why is there a psik? Why is there an interruption? To say that not everyone who becomes tamei brings a Pesach Sheini, only if it's an individual. But if the whole community became tamei, then they don't get pushed off to Pesach Sheini.
Do they have regular Pesach, or they just...
They do the regular Pesach.
They do it.
Yeah. Now, what's an example where the whole community becomes tamei? How does everyone become tamei?
There's no cow. There's no red heifer.
But why would everyone do something to become tamei? You're saying they're automatically tamei?
No, I guess I was saying they couldn't become pure.
They couldn't become pure. That's if they're already impure. But what would cause...
I mean, that's like today.
What?
That's
Right.
like today.
Right.
If we were to reestablish the korban before we reestablish the red heifer, then we'd be in that situation.
Right. That's true.
As far as the whole community becoming, so maybe a mistaken judgment where a rabbi decrees improperly on so what's pure and what's not.
And then everyone followed this rabbi.
Yeah, the bakery or the
Mhm. Possibly, yeah. Another option is if someone very important died. Like the whole community, that the whole community went to his funerals. They all became tamei. So in that situation where the whole community becomes tamei, then they do not do a Pesach Sheini. It's only
It would only become tamei until evening, but you'd nonetheless be obligated to go.
Someone who's in contact with a dead body has to wait 7 days.
7 days.
7 days, and then the whole paraduma. So the Baal HaTurim is explaining that why is there this line between Tamei and Lenefesh to tell you that not every Tamei Lenefesh, not every person that becomes impure does a Pesach Sheini. So it's interesting because this is something that the Chachamim say, and the Baal HaTurim is finding it in a hint in the Pasuk. Okay, Dirash. Dirash is what we interpreted. How do we extrapolate to other ideas? That he might teach the judges who were to come after Moshe to be prompt in cases of money, but deliberate in those of life. What does this mean? So, on the next page, Targum Yonasan. This is one of 4 matters of judgment brought before Moshe, in 2 of which Moshe was prompt, and in 2 was he slower. So we have 4 different cases where there's a question being brought to Moshe. 2 of them Moshe answers right away, and 2 of them Moshe kind of was unsure and had to wait to get an answer from Hashem. Moshe was prompt concerning the unclean who could not perform the Passover sacrifice in its time, and concerning the daughters of Tzlofchad. In the story when they wanted to have a portion in Eretz Yisrael. So in these 2 stories, by the Karban Pesach and by the daughters of Tzlofchad, Moshe answered right away. Why? Because the latter judgment was about money. But concerning the blasphemer who had revealed the sacred name, that was from last week's Parsha, and the gatherer of wood who wickedly profaned the Shabbos, reviled, Moshe was deliberate. These being decisions involving life. In them he said, I have not heard. So we find the difference between Karban Pesach and the daughters of Tzlofchad. Those Moshe answered right away, and then the other 2 cases, Moshe was waiting and he had to ask. Why? What's the difference? Because those were related, they were life and death questions. Do you kill this person that cursed or not? In them he said, I have not heard. That he might teach the judges who were to come after Moshe to be prompt in cases of money, but deliberate in those of life, and not to be ashamed to say, I have not heard. Because Moshe himself said, I have not heard. Therefore he said, arise and listen to what the word of Hashem will prescribe to you. So this is the drash. This is what we learn from this story, is, from seeing the difference in the different situations, the way Moshe dealt with it. You see how a judge should deal with certain situations. When it comes to money, he could answer right away. When it comes to life, questions which are related to life and death, over there he should think over, and not be hasted to judge. So that was from the Targum Yonasan.
And how do we learn that from that slash?
From what?
How do we learn that from that slash? How does the Pesach teach us? How do we know the Pesach teaches us that?
No, so the Pesach taught us a different thing. The Pesach taught us the difference between whether it was a whole community or was an individual.
Oh.
That was from the Baal HaTurim. That was Remez.
Where do we learn the Targum Yonasan?
That's the drash. The drash is the way you take one thing and you apply it and you expound on it.
Again,
you interpret.
What is he expounding upon?
So
the distant journey, the dead?
He's looking at the case, looking at the different stories where you have Moshe sometime responding right away, and then other times, Moshe waits and doesn't answer right away.
Yeah, I get that. But what in this pasuk has Targum Yonasan jumped to this particular teaching?
So it seems like it's on the general story. I don't know if it's specifically on this pasuk, but it's on the general story of the way Moshe dealt with Jewish people, asking him about the carbon Pesach.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that in itself is, okay, now I understand.
Yeah. It's not clear if this Targum Yonasan is specifically on this pasuk.
It's weird because Pesach is, observing Pesach has kares, so it is kind of life and death.
At the same time, they weren't obligated. It's funny, the way they come to Moshe Rabbeinu and they said, we are impure. And then they say, why should we lose out? You answered your own question. You're not obligated because you're impure. So what do they mean?
So they're not subject to kares.
What?
They
Right, they weren't.
Because they were just ineligible.
Right, and it was actually because of doing a mitzvah, like we mentioned before. They were carrying the dead body of Aaron's sons. They were involved in a mitzvah. They were burying.
Right. Extra credit Judaism.
What do you mean?
It's a running thing with people who are extremely machmir in the case where they don't have to be.
Uh-huh.
These gentlemen are like, above and beyond Judaism. They could take the L, they could just move on. But no, we want to do this.
Good.
I mean, it's commendable. It's just not everybody's at that level.
It came to me. It's fine.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
okay, then we have the Orach Chaim. Now, the whole story, when did it happen? The Torah says that it was the second year from when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim. And here we're going to discuss the importance of the time frame. Why was it important to note that it was the second year specifically after the Jewish people left Mitzrayim? So here we have the Orach Chaim. The Torah began the chapter by mentioning the year in which the command was issued, which is the second year after their exodus from Egypt. Seeing that the whole first paragraph only intended to sanction the fact that the Israelites would again offer the Passover sacrifice, the Torah speaks of the second year so that we should appreciate that this was after the golden calf. So the Orach Chaim is saying that the reason why it's important to mention that was the second year, to know that it was after the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf.
And our forgiveness was complete.
So he's trying to show that this story, where Hashem accepted the Jewish people's request, was a sign that Hashem was forgiving the Jewish people. So the Talmud says this communication happened on the 1st of Nisan of that year. So we can say that it was before the Shekhinah descended into the tabernacle onto that day. And this introduction was Hashem's way of informing the people that they had been found worthy to offer the Passover sacrifice. Only after this did the Shekhinah descend. So this is interesting that they're discussing the Pesach on the 1st of Nisan, which means this is even before the first Pesach. They're asking to be able to do a second Pesach. It's an interesting thing. Talmud says communication.
Ineligible, but we said it was the second year, so did they celebrate the Pesach the first year?
The first Pesach, that's when they left Mitzrayim. For sure, they celebrated.
Yeah.
But I guess they realized that they would still be impure, I guess, on when it came Pesach. So they asked Hashem, and when Hashem accepted and said that they were going to be able to bring the Pesach, that's when the Shekhinah came down. So that's another important message, how this is connected to the Chet HaEgel. It's a way of Hashem saying that He accepted our our teshuvah. Here we have something from the Rebbe. Pesach Sheini represents compensation or correction for a prior shortcoming, and thus represents the path of teshuvah. This is seen in the difference between the first and second Pesach. So here we see an idea that Pesach Sheini is connected to teshuvah. Chametz is the evil and forbidden. Nevertheless, Rashi states that on Pesach Sheini one can keep both chametz and matzah in one's home, hinting that tshuva can elevate one's past forbidden acts. So if you think about it, it's an interesting thing. Like today, why could you have chametz today? If it's a second Pesach, why could we have chametz? But based on this concept that we're on the level of tshuva, it says that about tshuva is able to fix even things which are negative and make them into merits. So that's why we're able to have chametz today, because we're on this level of tshuva. 2, the first Pesach is one week long, showing a gradual spiritual ascent, while Pesach Sheini is only one day. So we don't celebrate Pesach Sheini for 7 days. We only do it one day, showing the power of tshuva to elevate and transform in a single moment. It says that tshuva is very powerful. What's the power of tshuva? That it doesn't have to take a long time. A person could be doing Averos his whole life, and in one moment he decides to return to Hashem. And it says he's able to buy his whole Olam Haba. He's able to, really return.
Interesting, because the Daf Yomi today was about Reish Lakish, the bandit.
Mm-hmm. So that's about that idea of tshuva, right?
Yeah.
He changed.
But he was dissed by Rabbi Yochanan at one point, and he despaired so much over being reminded of his past that he died. And then Rabbi Yochanan was so upset with himself for doing so that he died. And it just goes to show you have to take tshuva very seriously and give credit where it's due. Which is another meaning of having chametz and matzah in your home at the same time. If the chametz is your bad deeds and the matzah is the good deeds, so that means that a person who is in the process of going through tshuva, who has improved in some areas but not in others, you have to give him all the chizuk for his achievements, no matter how small, no matter how partial.
Mm-hmm.
The story in the Daf Yomi makes that super clear. Not doing that is what cost these two great men
their lives.
Their lives, yeah. And they're cutting short.
So we're in Bava Metzia. That's the
Yeah, that's the Daf. Maybe it was a couple days ago.
No.
It was today.
You paid much closer attention than I did.
I had an interpretation that helped me. The Daf and that, it's a kind of a
Yeah,
short
no.
interpretation.
It's not good.
and this
And
just
the
made.
thoughts are finished, but the story is.
Yeah, no, this one is particularly engaging.
Yeah.
Bad. Yes.
The whole surgery he had to take out.
Shoveling out the fat from his kishkas and it didn't spoil.
We're talking about a rabbi
These
that was
unusual images.
very large,
Uh-huh.
and he had to.
Liposuction, the biblical way.
Yeah, that was basically, yeah.
So this reminded me of an anecdote. There was some people celebrating Pesach Sheini, and the guy walks over to them. He says, "What are you celebrating? This is a Yom Tov for people that are tamei, that are the people that are impure. Like, it's not what's there to be proud of? It's like something
Tamei Nefesh.
tamei lanefesh,
As a result of performing
a mitzvah,
a mitzvah.
Right.
So and also Tamei, although it has a negative connotation, many of the methods by which tumah occurs are either honorable or just natural.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, but this guy, he was trying.
I think it's probably cooling up. The fan is very noisy.
What?
If you wanted to turn off the AC, the fan is particularly noisy. I don't know why. I don't recall it being that noisy.
Yes. So this particular person was trying to, give a little poke to these guys. He's like, "Oh, what are you guys celebrating this Yom Tov?
Right.
This Yom Tov for Tmeim, for people that are impure." But they had a response. They said, these are Tmeim that are becoming Tahirim, that are becoming pure, which means this idea of transformation of Teshuvah. Mm-hmm. So, don't worry.
Again, respecting the process.
Exactly. So over here in the third paragraph, Teshuvah has the power to wipe out a person's past deeds and transforming him into a new person. This is the inner reason that the second Pesach offering, representing correction and compensation of the mistakes of the past, was recorded out of chronological order. If you look at Rashi, where the Torah speaks about the Pesach Sheini, it's out of order. Why? Because Teshuvah has the power to rearrange a person's life out of chronological order, wiping away his past mistakes.
Turning them into
Merits.
paths and merit. Yeah.
So, usually a person thinks that, he's only has control over the future, or the present maybe. But something that happened in the past, you don't really have power. And the fact that Pesach Sheini is written out of order is coming to show that Tshuva is jumping out of order. It's not the regular process. It's an idea of jumping, and that's why it's called Pesach Sheini. It's a second jump. It's not something regular. It's something which is going out of the order. So basically, we saw over here a theme of Teshuvah connected with Pesach Sheini. That's why you could also have Chametz, because that represents elevating the negative things. That's why it's one day, to show that Teshuvah could be in one moment. It doesn't have to be like a whole long Pesach of 7 days. You could do Teshuvah and catch on in one moment. And the reason why it's written out of order is to show you that Teshuvah could fix the person's order, the way of life, and even the past. Okay, we're up to the 4th level, the Soid. Ready for some Kabbalah?
Are we all over 40?
No.
Are we all over 40?
I guess I don't qualify. So, the Zohar is bothered with the words ish, ish. It says a man. Why doesn't the Torah just say ish? Ish ki yeh tamei lanefesh. Why does the Torah say ish ki yeh tamei lanefesh? Even though it's not so uncommon in the Torah, a lot of times the Torah would say like every man, ish. But, in Zohar, we're going to look at these details also. Why does it say man twice? So the Zohar answers, it is a man who is a distinguished man and is worthy to receive the lofty soul. Yet, he flawed himself, so the supernal Shekhinah does not reside with him. So what's the answer of the Zohar? Ish. What does Ish mean? Ish represents a very important man, not just any man. Ish, we're talking about an important Ish. But the problem is that this Ish was not acting the way a Ish should be, because a regular Ish should be a place for the Shekhinah to rest within him. But what happened to this person? He became like a regular ish. He lost that importance of being a ish. What is the reason? He brought it about by defiling himself. Therefore, man, that he is otherwise worthy to be a distinguished man, but he caused himself to be defiled, so the holiness from above should not be with him. So that's how the Zohar is explaining this. Ish, this person should have been a real ish where the Shekhinah could rest, but now that he became Tameh, so, he lost that level. This is one of the 10 that have dots in the Torah. Yeah, we mentioned before from Rashi that the word Rechaika has a dot on it, or be on a journey afar off. This is one of the 10 that have dots in the Torah. All come to demonstrate something. So what is the dot hinting to according to the Zohar? What is afar off? B'derech rechaika. It is because a person that defiles himself is made unclean above. So there's 2 things. There's the tumah that a person brings upon himself down here, and then there's this idea from the Zohar that what a person does also causes Hashem to do it to him. So if you make yourself tameh, Hashem brings tumah upon you. As soon as they make him unclean above, he is far off from the place and the road on which the children of Israel are connected. He is connected to a journey afar off. He removed himself from getting close to you, Yisrael, and to connect with you as you connect. So it's amazing. How is the Zohar explaining these words, b'derech rechaika, on a distant journey? Not just saying, a person is traveling on the road and he's far from the Beis HaMikdash. He's far from the kedusha. He's like off the derech, off the road, which means that he lost his connection to holiness. That's the way the Zohar is explaining. Rabbi Yitzchak said, "Why is it written what?"
Well, that's a different meaning of the word nefesh.
How?
Well, nefesh could mean two different things. Nefesh could mean a dead body, or it could mean nefesh, meaning
Your soul.
your soul.
You're making your soul
So
impure.
tame la nefesh. So in effect, the little line is letting you know that you can read this two ways.
According to this, we are connecting it. Tamei nefesh, you're bringing impurity onto your nefesh.
Right. So yeah, you have so the line is drawing attention to that you could read tame la nefesh then.
But the line
or
is,
tame la nefesh.
but the line is actually separating it.
Right.
So,
As
but you
said,
could read it.
The line means to pay special attention here, or to.
The dot means that it's not literal.
The dot reduces it, right?
The dot reduces the
But
line, means to separate.
Okay.
But you could read it without the line also.
Exactly.
So,
That's my point. It says you can read this separately, but that's a hint to say you can read it together.
yes.
Like very good versus good.
hmm
Yeah.
So according to the Zohar, that's how you would explain it, right? That tamei lenefesh, a person is causing a certain impurity onto his nefesh, onto his soul, and then it says b'derech rechaika, that he gets distant, which means that in addition, the way the Zohar is explaining it is that they're really connected, those two things. It's not two different examples, one becoming impure and one going on a derech rechaika. The way the Zohar is explaining is that a person who is tamei lenefesh, if a person makes himself impure, that is already on derech rechaika. He is far from where he's supposed to be, far from his connection to the kedusha.
It's interesting that it says, oh,
So this is Rav Yitzchak, exactly what Rav Yitzchak is going to ask. He said, according to you, why is there a oi? The word o means or. According to the Zohar, they're both connected because tamei lenefesh and derech rechaika are both implying that the person is disconnected from kedusha, from
you
the whole.
learn two different ways where he could be. A, he's tame lenefesh, or B, he's on the wrong path.
But what would the difference be? Spiritually.
That's a good question. That's why I'm going to wait.
Right.
This argument.
So Rabbi Yitzchak said, why is it written shall be unclean by reason of a dead body or be on a journey afar off? That seems to indicate that there are two things here, which is understood from the word or. Yeah, of course, so this he's asking on the previous explanation. Rabbi Yossi said, here, prior to having been made unclean, here it is after they made him unclean. What does that mean? The Zohar before explained that there's the tumah that the person brings upon himself, and then there's the tumah that Hashem brings upon the person. So tamei lenefesh is what the person does, but derech rechaika is what the tumah that Hashem would bring upon the person. It seems that neither this one nor that one will have holiness from above reside with them, and they will not observe the Pesach at the same time that Israel observe it.
It also implies that not every person who is tamei lenefesh will be punished by derech rechaika. That is to say that although he has impurified himself, not every person who's impurified themselves will have God then impurify them, as you said, by bringing down impurity upon them, because they're two separate things. So,
the way Rabbi Yossi said, it's a difference of time. This is before that happens, and this is.
This is a separate implication. The implication is that they're two separate things, separated by time. But if you impurify yourself and then God brings down impurity on you, but if they were always going to happen that way, then why would you separate them? So that implies that it doesn't always happen.
So the way
maybe immediately. So maybe you have there's room for tshuva between the two, or you do it twice, ish. Maybe you do it twice, and then the impurity comes down upon you, and makes it harder. Maybe the Sutton and your angel, fight, and then depending on that verdict, maybe the impurity comes down upon you from above, etc., etc.
We're seeing a lot of Sheinis. It's funny. We're seeing a lot of double in Pesach Sheini, right? So we have ish two, and then we have tamei lenefesh, oy b'derech rechaika, and then there's even another oy, oy l'derech seicha. Yeah. Okay. So we have to understand what the Zohar means exactly. This is before Hashem makes the person impure or not. So far it's still the negative, but now he continues. If you wonder whether he observes on the following month, even if he does not amend himself, so you might think, okay, Pesach Sheini, everyone could do Pesach Sheini. The Zohar says, no, it is not so. It is only after he has purified and restored himself, he has another month to perform the Pesach, the Paschal Lamb. From here we take it that every person that purifies himself is also purified.
Meaning that the impurity from above departs.
So similar, I would compare it just like by Tumah, when a person makes himself impure, then Hashem brings upon him impurity, Tumah. So also when he does Teshuvah, when he makes himself pure, Hashem adds purification from above.
Adds purification, doesn't just take away impurity, but adds purity. That's an interesting distinction.
That purity
He makes himself impure, then the man makes himself impure, and then he negates that impurity by making himself pure.
but that's a positive, right?
That's positive. And God brings down impurity upon him. Okay, so then God brings down purity upon him to negate the impurity. Okay, he doesn't just remove the impurity, but actually
gives him even more.
Gives him purity to counteracts impurity with purity. He doesn't just remove the impurity,
but he
and leave a hole.
Right. Hashem adds and brings
you back to make you back even. Yeah.
Or even more, possibly.
Or even more.
With the
Certainly, if you've done tshuva and you found yourself in the same situation and resisted temptation, and you've turned your evil deeds into merits, you've certainly gone beyond where you were at baseline.
Right.
Okay.
That's why it says that about tshuva is greater than a tzaddik, right? Because
you stood in places that tzaddik can never stand.
So if you look at it in this way, it comes out something really. If you look at it in this way, you might say that Pesach Sheini is in a way greater than the first Pesach. Why? Because if Pesach Sheini is the power of a Baal Tshuva, and it says that a Baal Tshuva is greater than a tzaddik.
It was requested. Right.
Yeah, but tzaddikim are not supposed to tempt themselves. Again, back to the story of Reish Lakish. He used to sit, not Reish Lakish, Yochanan. He would sit outside the bathhouse, and people would ask him, are you tempted? No, far from it. I'm hoping these women will have beautiful children. But the question had to be asked, are you tempting yourself? Are you putting yourself in danger? There it goes again.
Yeah, but it's interesting how the Zohar is taking this whole idea, he's taking it very seriously. It's not like, okay, you just bring a Pesach Sheini. It's like if you're a Tameh, that means that you have a certain Tumah that you have to work on. And now, you don't just get it right away, okay? They came to ask for Pesach Sheini, okay, you get it tomorrow. Hashem gave it to them a month later. And that's also interesting. Why did Hashem wait a whole month to make up for Pesach? He did it in the month of Iyar. Why didn't he give them in Nisan? According to the Zohar, it takes time to do tshuva. If a person really needs to become pure, Hashem gave them this 30-day period to really change yourself, and now you could do the Karban Pesach. It doesn't just,
Wouldn't be, okay.
So here we have Berachamim L'Chaim, which is, I guess, someone analyzing the Zohar that we just read. A distant journey literally means the physical distance, but the Zohar looks at this spiritually, meaning that one is distant because he or she is unclean. Perhaps we can take it even one step further. One's heart is not in the proper place when Pesach time comes in. One is estranged from oneself. Far out, man. So Hashem desires the heart, and Hashem gives us a second chance if you're not in the right mind space when it is a time to offer the Pesach sacrifice.
Written during the early 70s, right, Pop? Far out, man. Mind space. Headspace.
What an amazing idea, that when we are ready, we can rectify, heal, fix that which is needed. Hashem gives us the extra month between the 14th of Nisan and 14th of Iyar to get ourselves together. When we see the light inside, then we are open to Pesach. What is Pesach? The word Pesach, you could read it as two words, Pesach.
Skip over.
Pesach means to skip over. If you break the word in two, Peh is the mouth, Sach is to speak. The mouth that we can speak and thus open up our inner knowledge to the secrets of our heart, the prophecies of Pesach night, the splitting of the sea, and the revelation at Sinai. Okay, so that was this
Far
person's.
out, man.
That's it. Now from the Hayom Yom. This is a collection of insights for every day. So it says like this: the theme of Pesach Sheini is that it is never too late.
Sorry, speaking of Hayom Yom, the theme of every day, Ruben, if you can find upstairs Rabbi Haber's book on the Omer,
Oh,
I would love to see it again.
All right, let me,
What is?
He wrote a book on the Sphira,
Oh, interesting.
and what
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
Yesod
yeah.
means and how you should try to rectify yourself on that day. And so
Sarah
forth.
was very big on that book.
Like he explained each one of the midos and.
Yeah. What does it mean? The Gvur Besod, Gvur Bahod, Gvur
I'll look at it.
Malchus, etc., etc.
I know I used to.
Some of them are not so obvious.
Yeah.
And he apparently, I was told he republished it. Rabbi Oken said he revised it and republished it. But
Okay.
if we have the original around here, I might have a
I
copy at
could,
home,
yeah,
but
I
I haven't
could
seen
do
it in years. It's great because again, I was talking to Rabbi Oken and he was not really. He said, what do those spheros combinations mean? And he wasn't even aware that there was really serious scholarship on it. And I said, look, Rabbi Haber, our shared Rabbi Haber wrote a big thing on it. He was familiar with that, but it's an interesting conversation now.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay, so the theme of Pesach Sheni is that it is never too late. It is always possible to put things right. Even if one was tamei, ritually impure, or one was far away, and even in the case of lachem. So we didn't focus so much on this word lachem, but the Torah, if you look back in the pasuk, it says rechoka lachem. So what's the word lachem? I could have just said b'derech rechoka. What's so that see? There's two ways to read it. Do you read it b'derech rechoka lachem, or do you read it b'derech rechoka lachem l'derech seichem? So the way we're explaining over here is b'derech rechoka lachem, which means that the person brought himself to be distant. That it was the person's fault. Which means tamei lenefesh could mean, you became impure. Why did you become impure? Maybe because it was because of a mitzvah. It wasn't your fault, right? B'derech rechoka lachem means it was for you. It was you distanced yourself. So maybe then it's too late. If you did a avera and you weren't aware, you didn't learn. But if you're b'derech rechoka lachem, and it was deliberate, so nonetheless he can correct it. This is the power of teshuva that, the person.
Like you made yourself this.
Exactly. That even if it was intentional, even if it wasn't by accident, still the person is able to return. And
Israel in its fuzzy logic.
what?
Fuzzy logic is a computer term, but it applies here. It's where you can read somebody because Judaism, because Hebrew, is so vague in its structure and so easy to recurse and change. That obviously with no vowels and there used to be no spaces between words and no spaces, to tell one sentence from another. That you can do these multiple interpretations.
So this
Uniquely
is
the Hebrew.
yes. So this is very interesting. That on different levels of pshat, remez, drush, and seid. Just interesting. You have the word sheni, Pesach Sheni. What other things are sheni? Are
Shinui,
change, but the number 2. What other things that are sheni are important in Yiddishkeit? Who knows too? What's Shnei Luchos Habris, the 2 luchos? What else is shenis?
Gevur and Chesed.
Gevura and Chesed. Gevura is the second one.
Shekhinah and what's the correspondent to Shekhinah?
Malchus? Or Yesod?
I mean, of God's attributes, God rests the Shekhinah on the base of Mikdash, but then the other aspect of God is the counterpart to Shekhinah?
Two tablets.
The two tablets, that's right. The Shnei Luchos.
Adam B'chava.
That's true. Then within ourself, we have the two neshamas. We have, the nefesh habahamis, the animal soul, and then we have the.
Kalippa
Yeah,
and
but we have like 5 of those.
Sitra Achre.
There's 5 dimensions within the neshama.
Chaya,
Nefesh.
Bria, I'm sorry, Chaya, Bria, Nefesh.
Nefesh,
Neshama.
ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. So those are 5 with.
And Bria, right? Is Bria in there?
Bria is one of the worlds.
Oh, okay. Right.
They
But you got
they
it,
correspond. Yes. So there's 5 levels within the neshama. Then there's the nefesh habahamis, the animal soul, and then there is the nefesh hashenis,
Okay.
which is the neshama. And the neshama is actually called the second soul. Why is it second? You would think that the neshama is first, because it says the neshama only enters the person later. A person is born with an animal soul, with the nefesh habahamis. His neshama only enters later. When does the neshama enter the person? So
40 days after birth?
what?
40 days after birth?
Why 40?
I don't know, that's what it says.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Right, you've heard that, Ruben?
40 days?
No,
Yeah. 40 days after the baby is born, it receives the. It's mourned when it dies, for one thing.
before that
it's
it's buried.
Right.
Right. And as far as I know, that's
Is it
when it
before
gets.
40 or 30?
I thought it was 40.
Okay, I don't know.
Saying once you're 40, you're for sure past 30. So
There's, in the Kalippa, there's Nagola. There's the two things there.
there's 2 types of klipa. Oh, very good. So I'll speak about that in a second. That's a good that you mentioned about the noga, but so I have to check out this about the 40 days, but it says that by the bris, there's a certain aspect of the neshama coming in. I guess a girl has it right away. And by the bar mitzvah. It says by a person's bar mitzvah, that's when his neshama, fully enters the body. So that means that your nefesh habahamis is 13 years older, so the nefesh habahamis is in a way, it's stronger, like it's first, and then we have this sheni, the nefesh hasheni coming in. So that's about sheni. Also in davening, we say in Hu Elokeinu, shenis b'karov, that we're waiting for the second redemption should be like the first redemption. So we have the Geula of leaving Mitzrayim, that was the Rishon, and then leaving Golus, that's going to be the Shenis, the second one. So now I'll just mention about what Reuven said, Richie, about the 2 klipas. So in Kabbalah, there's the different types of klipa. One is called klipas noiga, which is more in between. Things which are permissible, not necessarily negative, not necessarily holy. Like most things in this world are klipas noga. And then you have shalosh klipas atmeis, you have the 3 which are totally negative, totally evil, that you're not allowed to benefit from it. So how does this connect to Pesach Sheini? It says that's the difference between the first Pesach and the second Pesach. When they were leaving Mitzrayim, what were they leaving? They were leaving the shalosh klipas atmeis. They were leaving things which were totally negative. They were in 49 levels of tumah. But on Pesach Sheini, what are we leaving? We're leaving the klipas noga. Because now that we already left the things which were totally bad, now we're trying to take off even the more subtle klipa, even things which are not, outright negative. That's what we're working on now in Pesach Sheini. So it's really a process. Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheini, it says when they left Mitzrayim, they were in a hurry, they were in a rush. What was the rush? Why were they rushing out of Mitzrayim? What was the rush?
To get away from the Egyptians.
Get away from the Egyptians.
They shouldn't follow her level.
They were what?
They were mounting to follow them.
Right.
Well, they would also say they even follow another level.
So that's on a spiritual level. They were running away because they were so afraid of this negative power of the klipa. They were right after them. They were coming from there. But Pesach Sheini, it's not really a rush, because we already left Mitzrayim. We already left the things which were totally bad. Now we're working on better things, That's kind of the difference between the first Pesach and the second Pesach, is that, we always say, Sur Mira Vasei Tov. Running away from bad and doing good. So the first Pesach was mainly Sur Mira. It was mainly running away from bad, running away from evil. Now that we already left the evil, now Pesach Sheini, to the time that we focus more on doing good, right? We don't have to worry so much about the chametz. That's why we could have chametz. So we're not focusing on the Sur Mira, getting rid of the bad. We're focusing more on Asay Tov, on positive and acting good and connecting to Hashem. And a person might think that, when running away from bad, that's when you have to jump, that's when you have to fly. But when you're already doing good, you could take it easy. So the Torah tells us, Pesach Sheini, you always have to jump. Even when you're doing good, you shouldn't be just settled, but there has to be Pesach Sheini. You gotta jump even when you're doing the good things. All right, so we don't want to go over time.
So is Tamid, is that lower or higher than Yitzhahara?
Which one?
Tamid, right?
Tameh.
Tameh?
Tamid, is that above or below?
The Yitzhahara drives you to do something which makes you tameh.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's a cause.
The Yitzhahara is the
Yitzhahara
cause.
is a temptation. And then
The act and the subsequent act is hard to become done. Or in case it's not the Yitzhahara, they've actually done a mitzvah, but nevertheless they're coming. So 40 days after